let's get started. Making a feature film includes 5 phases: development, pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. And right now, we are right here. Development. So how do we develop a feature film? Well, it's actually much easier said than done, so let's just continue talking about it. To develop a feature, we need 4 things. First is an idea. This could be a theme, motif, visual hint, something that strikes the match for our burning tale to tell. More on this later. Once we have our idea, we can turn it into a concept. This is the who, what, when, where, and why of our story. Notice I didn't say how. It should be a 1 to 2 sentence quick synopsis, a logline. Once we've really solidified this concept with enough intrigue, clarity, and irony to get audiences to want more, then we can turn it into an outline. An outline is basically a blueprint for your screenplay. It includes all your scenes, story beats, character arcs. That way, when you actually go to write the script, most, if not all, of your sequences are broken down and organized. And then finally, we will use this outline to write our script. This is where all those ideas that have been bubbling about in your brain finally get put into words. During my undergraduate, one of my tracks was screenwriting. I've written a bunch of short films as well as 2 features. And I was also president of the Screenwriters Club at ASU for 2 years. So based on my experience, I believe that screenwriting is a love-hate relationship. Not with any written words, but with yourself. Self-confidence plays a huge part in any writing process, and it's very important to recognize this. If you're not feeling confident in yourself or your writing, that's okay. That's normal. Your job isn't to write a perfect first draft. Those don't exist. Your job is to write, and rewrite again. We'll get more and more into screenwriting in future videos, but for now, we're still missing something. Yeah, that. Now we've reached the topic of the video. How do you come up with an idea for a film? Where do ideas come from? Well, there's no right answer. It just sort of happens. But we can still talk about it. Let's go through an example. My upcoming short film, Camp Calloway, is a 1980s summer camp comedy. And I can actually pinpoint the 2 sources where this idea came from. First one is the highly underrated 2011 movie Super 8, directed by J.J. Abrams. In this movie, there's a scene where the main group of boys are sat on a curb and they are eating licorice and messing around and throwing it at each other. Second source is an image I found on Pinterest. However, I do not know where it's actually from. This image, to be exact. I've looked everywhere, but all I can really deduce is that this picture is at least 10 years old and people on Pinterest love it. So there we go. Boys messing around, this 80s camp aesthetic, boom. Movie. It's actually much more complicated than that. I mean, a lot more complicated, but this is a good idea of where to start. So we're going to try these steps again to get an idea. So step 1, find a scene or a clip from any movie or source of media that inspires you. For me, this will be coming from TikTok. Now, there's one type of video on TikTok that I often see that really inspires me, and those are hopecore videos. Most of these edits typically center around a superhero, either Spider-Man or Superman, but the ones that I find that have the most impact are those of real-life stories that you see of people, and the depiction of humans just being humans and doing their best every day. That goal, that aspiration, that drive, I really connect to, and it affects me on an emotional level. And through my storytelling, I wish to capture the same feeling within my audience as well as within myself. There are so many hopecore videos out there. I'll let you just look it up for yourself. But we now have a source for the base of our idea and also a feeling that can act as a goal to achieve through our story. Next, we'll talk about style. So, like our example, let's return to the well that I like to call Pinterest. Now, I'm not sponsored by Pinterest, though it could be. But I find Pinterest to be a great resource for finding art that inspires ideation. So let's take a look. This is my board titled Inspiration. How original, right? Now, this is just a general overall board that if I go on Pinterest and I see something that feels like it's good for a story or very interesting, I'll save it and just put it in here. So I've done a lot of that hard work already, but there's no stopping you from doing this on your own. You can just go on Pinterest and start saving stuff to a board. So what I'm going to do is just kind of scroll through here and find stuff that matches the tone or vibe that I'm going for. And to be honest, this is where things become very subjective. I may not be able to quite explain how this image translates to hopecore or that feeling that I want to generate, but I know it's a start. So I'm going to save this into a brand new board for feature film. Now, following this image and finding similar ones to it will help me flesh out the idea and therefore the concept, the outline, and the script. At this point, I'd like to note that each of these is going to influence the other. As I build on the idea, that's going to directly influence the concept. But as I work on the concept, that's probably going to change the idea. Then when I go to outline the story, that'll change the concept, and we may stray entirely away from the original idea. Therefore, by the time you get to the script, your original idea might just be one scene, or one shot, or one line of dialogue. But hey, we all gotta start somewhere. All in all, I encourage y'all to trust your gut and allow yourself to be pulled in whatever creative direction your narrative takes you. So keep an open mind and let yourself run wild. However, if I want to make this film in the next few years, I really need to think about what is logistically achievable and what is budget friendly. How many characters, scenes, and locations can we realistically include? In addition, this idea also has to be feature worthy. And really, how abstract of a concept can we practically handle? To that, I say we're just gonna have to swing for the fences and see where we land. So now I'm going to come back to our Pinterest board and work on it until I get to a comfortable spot. While I do that, I want you all to think about how you come up with ideas. If there's a certain method that works for you and you'd like to share it, please leave a comment, as I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so we've gone through and found some more pins. As you can see here, we have all this stuff kind of organized to get that general feel. And that's the style that we're going for. I like what I see here. I really like the colors. I really like the composition. I like the aesthetic. But yeah, there's a lot of fantasy vibe within this, but set in a modern day. And that could be something cool to play with. But yeah, so for now, we just got it titled Hope Core Film. And yeah, that's feeling pretty good, I'd say. But is that our idea? Kinda. Ultimately, this idea will grow and strengthen over time. If you're struggling, some notable places for idea development are long walks, showers, and when you go to bed, but you can't quite fall asleep, so you're laying there staring up at the dark ceiling for like 4 hours. Oh, great time for spiraling. That's pretty much gonna do it for this episode. I'll leave a link in the description for that Pinterest board, so as I update it, you can fully check it out. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like, that way YouTube also knows that you're enjoying it, and subscribe so you don't miss out on episode 2. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more Eckert Entertainment.